Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's difficult to get far enough back in here to actually film this tree because it's one of my larger ones. This is a Yamadori Scots pine. For those of you who don't know, the Japanese terminology is often a loose interpretation. Yamadori normally means, I think originally it meant tree from a mountain, but basically the interpretation nowadays just means it was collected from the wild as opposed to bought in a nursery, grown from seed, air layer, cutting, various other methods you can actually get a bonsai tree or buy it from somebody else, source unknown, but as this was collected by me, I can safely use that terminology. Now, last time we looked at this tree, we homed in on this branch on its own. Well, what I'll do now is I'll put an info card up that if you click on that link, it will take you to the video where I did the work on this branch. You might want to watch that first before we actually continue. So the info card's coming up now. Right, for those of you who've been away, welcome back. And those of you who haven't, why not? Oh, I will mention actually, because the YouTube functionality, the info cards and things like end screens and descriptions, these are not all available on all devices. I mean, I've had some people actually tell me that an info card doesn't work on my device. So it does vary. I mean, I'm used to using a laptop where all the facilities are available. With a big screen as well, so I can see what I'm doing. Anyway, so we did some work on that, and I did say at the time I was then going to do a similar job on the rest of the tree. And that's what I wanted to film, is just the effect. This was 10 or 11 days ago that work was done, so already you can see on this branch where the candles were pinched, the needles are opening up now, and we've now got quite a nice bright green showing on the top of the pad. And that work was done over the rest of the tree. Now the lower 4 branches basically, which is cheating because they're not really 4 branches, there's only 2, but I've split them. So over here we've effectively got 2 pads, and we've also got a branch that's escaped its wire here. I'll put that back in a minute. That's supposed to be there, that one. So this pad over here is in fact a split branch, which is the lower portion of this branch, which was trained upwards, which gave me 2 separate pads. Yeah? So it's trickery basically. It's not 2 branches at all, but it certainly looks like it from a distance. So what we've got now is the nice bright green needles relatively evenly spaced out. Now on this branch, an awful lot of the branches had 2 buds, some had 3. Yeah, so you can see where the pad is going to be a lot thicker than it was before. Yeah, so an awful lot more shoots on this branch than there were before. And again up here, missed one, missed 2. So I always go back over your work. But again, on this pad, some of the growing. I mean, this one here, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, and a back bud. So there's a fair bit of strength going into this area. That's got to be held back if I want the strength to go into other parts of the tree. Now the top part of the tree has not been wired. So this, again, this is a split branch. It's a bit of a cheat. To bring this down, and this needs lowering. Yes, now I can see where the growth is. The wires are already there. All I've got to do is adjust them to just bring these branches down lower so that the height of the pad is there as opposed to there. I'll then have a better gap and it will look more, you know, it'll look more suitable. But when I did that wiring, I didn't do the top at that time because I thought, this area here doesn't need much wiring because I don't want to bring it down and I don't want to take it back in that much because I've got my curve here. That's what I'm after. A curve that's continuous. And I'm nearly there. Yeah, but what I have got up here is sticky up bits on this side of the apex. Now again, the apex is a cheat because it's effectively two branches. It's got a branch here coming out to the side, which is basically all of this, and then this branch continues up here, which has become the apex in effect, leading up to this one, which is the very top of the tree. This area here I want over, so that I've got another curve, and as you can see, if you follow this curve round, it doesn't make it. There's too much sticking up here, so all of this needs to be wired and brought down and in so that it becomes part of this, because I want this as a single apex despite the fact it's made up of different bits. So I was going to do that today, and I looked in the drawer and I'm short on wire. Now I have ordered some and it's on its way, but it's not here yet. And one thing I don't like doing is getting in the mood to do wiring and running out of wire, and I've only got half the job done, so I will wait till the new supplies arrive and then we'll have a go at this top pad. It's going to be difficult because I can't wire it on my, this is my orchid room. This is nothing to do with bonsai. This is where I grow my orchids, and it does have a workbench. And under normal circumstances, it's a good place to work on my bonsai. But because this is a tall tree, it's not going to be a good place to wire the apex of this tree because I'm not tall enough. It's just as simple as that. I'd be working above my head height. And to try and do wiring like that is just not on. I need this here so that I can work on it. And I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do that yet, but where there's a will and all that stuff, we will find a way. So anyway, I'm becoming more and more pleased with this tree. It was neglected for some time, and it's now being pulled back into some form of shape. The wired pads need a little bit of adjustment while the wire's still there, and now I can see where the strength of the new growth is, so I can adjust the height. You know, it's like I said, this one's sticking up, that needs pulling down, and a little bit of adjustment here and there, because not every twig on this pad was actually wired, and you can tell the ones that weren't wired because they're sticking up a bit and they might need just pulling back in to fill up like some gaps. Something like that. So I'll have a play with the bits that I've got, just even things out a bit, and then we'll come back to this tree when the wire arrives and I've worked out a way that I can get the apex down to a more workable height so that I can work on it. So that's where I am with this one. I'm pleased with it. It's got a reasonable base on it, not bad. This double curve here just seems to work. It's unusual, yeah, but as I said, that was legitimate damage. I didn't actually do that. I mean, a lot of people carve things like that on their trees. For this tree, that's natural. That's how it was when I got it, and the tree's grown with it, if you know what I mean. I mean, quite honestly, when it was first collected, the shari was virtually half the trunk, and it's grown back in a bit since then. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with this tree. It's coming along nicely. From a neglected tree that was all spindly and wispy and had dying branches, it's come back quite well. It was repotted this year, so that won't need doing again for a while. Can settle its root system in, and yeah, as I say, it's a reasonable bit of growth pushed up this year. Quite that I am pleased with, so it shows that, you know, there's strength coming back into the tree. And then what I would hope is that we get, as a result of pinching these candles back, hopefully the surge of energy that I'm getting now can't go into those tips because they've been stopped, so they can't extend anymore. But the energy is still there, so in theory that should push out some back buds, so we should get some back budding, which will thicken up the pads even more. That'll be for next year. Those buds will form probably later in this year and through the winter, and then we will get quite a bit of new growth next year, but it'll be small. It won't be giant candles sticking up 6 inches tall. It's more likely to be 3 that are 1 inch tall. and we can work on those again next year. The one thing you mustn't do with a pine is take all of your candles off year upon year upon year, because eventually the tree will weaken. So you know, it's a process that you can do to get the shape and then maintain the shape gently. Right, so that'll do, and we'll wire this up once the supplies arrive. I mean, the trouble is I've got different thickness branches there. I need several different grades of wire for that. Quite a bit of that will be done with probably 2.5, and some of it might only need 1.5, and I'm short on both of those sizes, so I'll wait for the new stuff to arrive and we'll come back to it and have another look. Right, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, I'll tag on the end. This was repotted earlier this year, so I'll put an end screen up, which was the repotting mechanism, because as part of that you can see what this tree looked like before it started to grow. So you can see what it looked like earlier this year. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got a video of actually wiring this tree. I'm going to go and find that video actually, because this tree is an interesting one. That video will not be on my Bonsai channel, it will be on my Orchid channel, because I used to put my bonsai videos on there until I started this new channel. So I'm going to go and try and find the one where I did this bit of wiring. Now, I'm not an expert wirer by any means. In fact, it's quite tatty, my wiring, but somebody might be interested in how I decided the wiring process rather than the actual perfection of it, if you know what I mean. The decision making, how I changed the shape of the branches to how I wanted them. So I'll see if I can find that, and if I can, I will put it along with the repotting video as end screens coming up now. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.